In this video, we continue with a book titled The Mind's Attainment, a study of laws and methods for obtaining individual happiness, success, and power through the silent force of thought by Uriel Buchanan. Welcome to my channel. I am Daisy, your hostess. You may have noticed from the first two chapters that the author is not using an academic approach to disclosing these laws and the how-tos. It is my opinion that the author here is using a simple, no-nonsense approach into sharing these concepts, some which I wouldn't be surprised could be from personal experience. And so for some people, these concepts seem so natural, so normal, and yet there could be others that may doubt that any of this, if applied, could work, but yet at the same time, what we are all doing, how we're all using our mind, is working in our favor or against us, but nonetheless, it's working. What harm is it then to intentionally use your mind to achieve the things that you want, the better quality of life, or whatever aim you have? It was no genius when the author said the pathway of today is illumined by the experience you gained from the yesterdays. We all have had that experience that life is a great teacher. And what about the idea that we are magnetic and that we are drawing from the universe all the things that are necessary for our happiness? And all of this is depending on concentration of the main thoughts that we house in our mind. Now, keep in mind that this book was written in 1902, and now we have scientists saying that our brains have magnetic materials in them. And I'll leave the link so you can look up more information on that in the description. What if the magnetite in the brain is what helps bring in and create that force in the thought to condense itself into a way that it can either through impulse connect with other brains, and depending on the concentrated thought, we can begin to manifest things in our lives? What do you think? Leave me your comment. And I'll leave it right there because it really is perfect as we go into chapter 3, Mysteries. There are 3 distinct divisions in the brain of man: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata. This third brain is the upper portion of the spinal column. It controls the systems of respiration, circulation, and digestion. The cerebellum, which is the small brain at the back and base of the head, controls all the voluntary muscles. The cerebrum is the large front brain, the seat of intelligence. Folded within the convolutions of this brain are countless millions of electromagnetic cells capable of being aroused from the hypnotic sleep and their potentialities converted into a dynamo of resistless energy. The perfectly developed brain is omni-relative and is capable of receiving and reflecting all possible knowledge and power. The mind is a concretion of the finest forces of man's being, a globe of light, a star shining through the brain. All changes which the mind undergoes are accompanied by a corresponding change in the cells of the brain. If man's nature is coarse, his perception is relatively dull. He is slow in forming conclusions, hesitating in speech, vacillating, and uncertain in everything he does. The man who is refined has a keenness of perception and delicacy of distinction, which enables him to outwit others, to think quickly and to accomplish more. The brain cells are living entities, subject to the laws of evolution. All physical, mental, or moral discipline have a direct influence on these cells, endowing them with higher qualities. The brain cell may be compared to an egg. It has an outside covering which contains a certain quantity of protoplasmic matter, and the matter holds within its mass a more refined material. The outside of the cell may be compared to the shell, the protoplasmic matter to the white, and the more refined substance to the yolk. In the center of this yolk is a tiny speck which emits a light that grows in brilliancy by self-discipline. This luminous point indicates that the cell is fructified, receiving within itself a concretion or spark from the divine mind. An aggregation of these sparks creates a magnetic fire which gives power to heal, to effect psychic phenomena, and to help others in their upward endeavor. This fire illuminates the brain of the genius, lighting the way to inconceivable heights of power and attainment. The different faculties of the brain may be compared to an army of men. The will is the captain. If the will has no commanding power and is governed by no fixed purpose, the various mind organs will act just as they are played upon, and very little can be accomplished. But when each faculty is made to act in its appropriate place, and all are collectively controlled by a trained and invincible will, a power for achievement is at command, which is unlimited. You should guard closely the portals of that realm of thought whence issue the living streams of energy so wondrously potent in shaping your destiny. Instead of permitting a multitude of drifting thoughts to come and go amid the greatest confusion, you should be able to hold the thoughts that you desire and to reject what thoughts you will. You must learn not to give way before the innumerable thoughts sent to you from other minds, but to direct them, that all opposing influences may be overcome and the greatest victories won by the greatness of personal power. The act of thinking increases the capacity of the brain. The tendency of the mind to wander, to yield to cares and disappointments, to be easily distracted, is the direct cause of so many failures. If you do not concentrate your mind on what you are doing, your efforts will be barren of results. You should learn to fix your whole attention to one thing at any given moment, to the exclusion of all other thoughts. There are two kinds of attention, passive and active. In the passive attention, you still the senses and place yourself in a receptive mood, not in a state of anxious expectancy, but of quiet repose. In the active attention, you place your mind in a positive receptive attitude. You listen with concentration. You send out suggestions at the same time you are receiving them. There is a dual action of the mind. You are listening to and sending back a silent mental answer. You should never give your passive attention to one who seeks a favor or would take advantage of you. While you should be receptive to the suggestions of another, you should at the same time be in that positive state which will make you impervious to any influence that is undesirable. You should stand guard at the threshold and permit no unworthy or harmful suggestion to enter your mind. Every thought sent out should be under the control of the will. Every word should be carefully weighed until the habit of right speaking is well established. And every deed should be done from the center of the higher self. You should breathe your very life into everything you do. The use of your thought power will not be effective if spasmodic. When addressing another, the mind should be intense in its action and the thought concentrated on the subject being discussed. There should also be concentration of the gaze. The intense thought and magnetic will and earnest speech will fire the cells of the brain with a magnetic, irresistible force. If there are times when you feel depressed and are indifferent and negative, if you desire to increase your forces and intensify the mind action, recall some great crisis in your life which stirred to earnest effort. Arouse yourself to the same state of mind, then send the thought currents out to accomplish your purpose. If while writing or painting or doing any mechanical work you feel tired, discouraged, and indifferent, throw open the windows and breathe deeply the refreshing air. By an effort of the will, throw your mind into a positive, exalted state. Get yourself in touch with the Supreme Power. Then you will have renewed strength and courage to go on with your work and to put into it the highest and best part of yourself. If you do this, your efforts will invariably bring success. There are 3 realms of mind: the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. The conscious mind belongs purely to the objective world, using the five senses as instruments. The subconscious mind is the stored up memories acquired by the conscious mind during the past years of its search for knowledge and experience on the human plane. The superconscious mind has the power of recognition of thought by a sympathetic process without the use of the five material channels of sensation. So many instances of unusual power in this direction have come to the notice of scientific investigators that the world has been convinced of this phenomenal keenness of mind. It has been demonstrated beyond question that there is a faculty of perception in the mind which can know what is taking place about it by means independent of the five senses. The superconscious mind, or subliminal self, is as real as the human form, yet it has no weight or measure and is unlike anything we can see or touch or analyze. The microscope does not reveal it. Deepest thought and purest reason fail to discover its origin, its nature, and destiny. Yet it is within the mind of man, substantial and luminous. The body changes, thoughts come and go, our relations to the great world at large are altered, hopes and loves are born in the heart, live, desire, and perish, and others come and go in their place in endless succession. Yet through all the shifting scenes in the visible world, there is something within which remains steadfast and true, shedding its mysterious luster through the enchanted realms of mind. By the medium of the superconscious mind, you are brought into conscious relationship with the infinite power, from which you can draw the energy needed to supply all the demands of your nature. It is universally agreed that there is an inner ether which fills all space. This is the intervening medium through which thought impulses send their waves. The mental energy is best exerted at a distance when directed by a strong willpower and sustained by a perfect faith in your ability to impress your thoughts on others. And you must be able to hold in your mind a single image to the exclusion of all else. To prove your strength or weakness in this direction, close your eyes and think of some object in the room where you are sitting. Hold the picture in the mind's eye until you seem to see the object itself. If your power of concentration is weak, you will not be able to focus your attention for a sufficient length of time to see a clear picture of the original object. Your mind will wander to surrounding objects and your ideas will be confused. For practice, hold the picture of some object or person in your mind for as long a time as possible, without permitting your thoughts to wander. At first, if not trained in this direction, you will not be able to hold the picture for more than 2 or 3 minutes. But persistent effort will train the mind so that you can give your undivided attention to a single thing for any length of time desired. Then you will be able to impress your thoughts and desires on others who are negative and receptive. The voice causes the exhaled breath to tremble by waves of sound which roll through the air. The universal ether penetrates everything. It unites mind with mind. It transmits thoughts and emotions. It bears the same relation to the mind that the air does to the voice. A thought vibrates the ether and reproduces corresponding thoughts in minds that are attuned. A thought wave sent forth travels as sound through the air or as the electric flash of a wireless message through invisible space. The ability to receive and interpret a thought wave depends upon the degree of sensitiveness and the power of attention. The gift may be cultivated by practicing the concentration of mental energy. This is done by fixing the attention so as to exclude all other thought waves and counter influences. A great idea, held and sent out by a powerful mind, may create an irresistible wave which will change the world of thought and influence millions for the good of the race. End of chapter 3. Let's move over to the next chapter. Before we do, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Chapter 4. The Science of Breath. In order that the manifestations of the mind may not be hindered, that the thought currents may be forceful and effective, it is necessary to keep the body in perfect condition, to have pure blood, healthy cells, and a reserve fund of vitality. The different nerve centers must be in perfect order and the entire system kept in harmony. For this purpose, you should carefully observe the laws of health. Living at high tension with improper food, little exercise, and breathing the impure air of hot, unventilated rooms and offices creates disease in the system which soon destroys the natural vitality of the body. If you have the strength of will to change your habits of living, if you will put forth a little effort in the right direction, you may prolong life and have a more peaceful existence. The requirements are simple and the results are certain. To strengthen the will and get perfect control of the physical, you should subject yourself to a rigidly plain diet, consisting of such foods as toasted bread made of white flour and whole wheat flour mixed, barley food, vegetables that are relished, fruits and nuts, rice, boiled milk, cracked wheat with cream and honey, and whole wheat bread, with variations and in quantity according to taste and appetite. Use very little starchy foods, meat, tea, and coffee, and avoid pastries such as pies, cakes, puddings, and dressings. These rules in regard to diet are to be observed principally for the purpose of strengthening the will and getting perfect control over the appetites and passions. If, for instance, a certain kind of food is delicious, you can only eat a certain quantity of it. If you eat more than you require, it will cause injury. The vital forces of the body will be wasted in attempting to digest it. If you are using 10 articles of diet and decide to limit yourself to 6, when the 7th is offered, if you refuse it, you increase the strength of will. If you have formed the habit of drinking coffee for breakfast and feel that you must have it, by breaking the habit for a time, you demonstrate the supremacy of the mind and will. If you depend upon certain articles of diet, stimulants, or drugs, if you are swayed by trivial desires and are bound by fixed habits of life, and cannot command the strength of will to break them, it is useless to talk about the mastery of self and the attainment of inestimable freedom. Control of the material part of man's nature is the first step to be taken on the path to power. You should sleep at least 8 hours at night. Rest a short time prior to the noonday and evening meals, and also for 20 or 30 minutes afterwards, with your thoughts dwelling on subjects that are uplifting. Bathe the body daily. Spend at least 1 hour in the open air, walking or riding, and practice deep breathing. And always be cheerful and hopeful. It is necessary to bear in mind that in concentration, no practice of breathing should be adopted until the body has been made pure so far as possible. You should have a room set apart for meditation, concentration, and breathing, and this room should be used for no other purpose. The surroundings of the room should be pleasant. Everything that is placed in the room, everything that decorates the walls, should correspond to your intellectual taste and requirements. The books should be those you like the best and the pictures of your own selection. When you practice breathing or concentration, assume the posture of body which gives ease and comfort. Do not incline your back or head. Sit straight on the chair, keeping the neck and body quite straight. Concentrate your mind on your highest ideal of health and power. Then breathe regularly, deeply, and fully. This is the whole science of breathing so far as health is concerned. To breathe fully, the breath must fill the whole thorax. A certain time for inhaling, retaining, and exhaling should be observed. For inhaling, if the time is 5 seconds, then for retaining the breath it should be 9 seconds, and for exhaling it should be 7 seconds. This proportion ought to be observed. When you retain the breath in the lungs, do not allow the retained breath to influence any part of the nervous system, nor the ears or brain. In order that the breath may not influence the brain or ears, just as you begin to retain it in the lungs, lower the head. When you lower the head, the breath cannot affect them. This breathing exercise will establish harmony and preserve the health. There is another exercise which may be used for the purpose of removing impurities from the blood and establishing the harmonious function of the different organs. Sit on a chair, keeping the body, neck, and head in one straight line. Exhale all the air from the lungs. Then press the right nostril with the thumb of the right hand and inhale through the left nostril. After filling the lungs, retain the breath, and just at the time of retaining it, press with the last 2 fingers the left nostril also, and at the same time lower the head so the breath will not influence any other part of the body. After holding, remove the thumb from the right nostril, raise the head, and exhale slowly. When you breathe out through the right nostril, stop for a short time and then inhale. Close the right nostril with the thumb, lower the head, and retain the breath. Then raise the head and exhale through the left nostril. In this way, the process is to be repeated. Little impurities that may have gathered in the lungs may be eliminated by a special system of breathing. Take short volumes of breath into the lungs simultaneously. Take one small volume of air, then another and another, until the lungs become full. Then lower the head and retain the breath. Then raise the head and exhale slowly through the nostrils. Little volumes of air, by instantaneous admission, will come in contact with different parts of the lungs with such a force as to separate the little impurities that may have gathered there. A strong positive mentality will help you to focus the energies of the mind on one thing at a time, so that your study, your concentration, and your progress will be without any failures, any faults. Mere breathing and diet and physical postures are only helps. It is not by breathing alone, nor by certain physical postures, nor by concentration that the highest attainment is made. But these preliminary steps will strengthen the physical and give greater power and efficiency to rise superior to the destructive influences. The physical and mental are so interblended that if one is neglected, the other loses its power. The nerve force should be sound and strong. The forces that regulate the working of the lungs, the stomach, the heart, and brain must be in perfect harmony. There must be purity of body and purity of mind. When there is bodily and mental purity, you will be able to conserve the latent energies and direct them to higher uses. If the body is diseased or the mind disordered, your forces are being continually wasted in making repairs. When a habit that is detrimental to progress is to be overcome, it can be done in 2 ways. It can be broken immediately by a determined effort of the will, or it can be overcome slowly by outgrowing the desire or attachment, just as the child outgrows childish things as it advances in years. Suppose there is a powerful magnet that can draw to itself a bar of iron. This bar will be held there a certain length of time, depending on the intensity of the force in the magnet. There are 2 ways of separating the bar of iron from the magnet. The magnet will become demagnetized in course of time, and the bar will fall away of its own accord. But to separate the bar at once can be accomplished only by using force. The habits you have formed will be outgrown in the natural course of events, or you may overcome them at once by drawing a new force that will counteract their influence. By right thoughts, acts, and words, by determination and decisive effort, you may attract the forces which will change your thoughts and desires and give you greater power and ability to overcome all that is unpleasant and harmful. The body should be kept pure and all sluggishness removed by bathing, exercise, and deep breathing. Then you will enjoy being active. Work will become delightful. You will not get tired. A change will be produced in your features and your general appearance will be improved. Regular circulation of the blood will be established. The mind will be transformed and you will have greater power of concentration. The different vehicles and nerves through which the psychic force passes will gain in strength and capacity. The universal energy pervades and surrounds us. It is in the sunlight, in the air, in water, in food, in blood and tissues, and everywhere. This energy is seen in its operations, and its existence is proved in many ways. You have no doubt felt the vitality of a strongly magnetic person by merely standing in his presence. Notice two persons together whose vitality seems to be widely variant. That is, one who is sickly and one who is vigorous. The latter is full of magnetism, the former lacks it. One is timid, nervous, and negative, while the other is forceful, positive, and commanding. The man who is charged with an abundance of vitality always takes the lead. All persons within the circle of his influence give up their own vitality for the time being and live in the strength of his more powerful forces. This influence can be broken only by the use of mental suggestions and exceedingly strong willpower. But if you are not strong physically, the thought waves you will send out will lack an element of force which is needed to make the influence irresistible. The air that is in motion when the sun is shining is charged with atomic rays of energy which you may draw into your system by deep breathing, concentration, and the tensing of muscles. By merely closing the hands after an inhalation of pure air on which the sun is shining will, if accompanied by the exercise of the willpower, result in the lungs and blood absorbing this energy. While holding the breath, close the hands tightly and tense the arms and chest and send a forceful suggestion through the body, holding to the positive thought that the air in your lungs is full of fire or life and that this central flame of glowing energy is being diffused through all the nerves from the breast to the head, down the spinal column, and throughout the system. When you perform this exercise rightly, you will feel the increase of energy while holding the breath, and by repeating the breathing and tensing of the muscles a few times, you will become charged with an element of life which will drive all impurities from the blood and give you a feeling of renewed strength and courage. If you will draw a solid ball on a blank page, and around this ball draw a circle just as close as you can without touching the ball. Another around that, not quite so close, and others until the page is filled with circles growing thinner, lighter, and farther apart as they become distant from the center. You will have a diagram which represents the radiation of vital energy. Its loss of strength should be borne in mind, as represented by the weakening and thinning of the outer circles. This radiation is called the aura of the person, and its influence can always be felt at a distance ranging from 3 or 12 feet. The nearer you approach a person, the stronger becomes the circle of his influence. When two persons approach each other, the stronger always counteracts the influence of the weaker. Some persons are so magnetic that they can charge a whole room with their presence and dominate all persons near by the tone of their voice and the glance of their eye. End of chapter 4. All right, there were so much goodies here. Tell me, what was your favorite? Comment and let me know. And if you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone that you think might really need this. All right, let's head over to the next video to learn more about self-mastery.